Good evening, everybody, and welcome to TC Global series on COVID-19 and its impact on global ed and industry. Our third webinar today is on online learning, the temporary new normal. Before we begin, some quick pointers. We know you have questions, and for those of you who have written to us earlier, thank you. We will try to answer your questions during this webinar. There is a question panel for those of you who still have questions that would like us to answer. It should appear on your right-hand side or in the middle of your screen, depending on which device you are using. Please use this to ask any questions during the webinar, and we will make sure that we answer them. We will also be conducting some polls to get your feedback during the session. Please just click on the option you see on the screen that's best suited to you. With that being said, I would like to now introduce Jas and Ravneet. Jas is a part of our IR team who will be walking us through the first half. And Ravneet's a part of Deakin University in Australia, and she will be talking to us about online learning as well. Over to you, Jas.
Thank you. Thanks, Rohini. So as Rohini's mentioned, I'm Jas from International Relations at TC Global, and that was Ravneet with me. Ravneet, I, and Azhar, who is a student from Deakin, will be taking the session today. We also have a panel with us, if the panel would like to show their faces. And our panel will be taking your questions throughout the day. So we have Kalpana and Bindu, who are both from the International Relations team at TC Global. We have Saqib, who is a faculty member from TC Global, and he'll be able to help, particularly since we've moved to online learning with our teaching for test prep and English language. And then obviously myself, Ravneet, and ours will be on the panel as well. Thank you. So feel free to ask some questions throughout. There's a chat function on the right-hand side of your screen. Just drop them some questions and they'll be able to answer them. We also have a Q&A session for about 10 minutes or 15 minutes towards the end of the session. So we'll answer some of your big questions then. Okay, so I just wanted to start with who we are at TC Global and why we're talking to you about these subjects related to global ed and COVID-19. So at TC Global, we are a leading global ed learning and mobility services organization. We're formerly known as the Chopras, and our mission and our purpose is really to build a global mobility and learning community of students, of people, of partnerships in industry and universities to help shape the global citizens of tomorrow today, and that includes all of you. We've been around since 1995, led by passionate founders who really saw the need for career development and future planning to be part of the socio-economic conversation that we were having within India and the education landscape. Today at TC Global, we've engaged with over 2.5 million students, and we've helped thousands really achieve their global ed, learning and mobility ambitions. And we're now actually creating a next generation platform system. So it's an ecosystem that will transition us into a platform brand built for a generation like yourselves that has grown up in the age of the internet. We're continuing to build, adapt and advance our mission, particularly as we see this new world take shape around us, and that will be what we're speaking about today. We really look forward to having a meaningful dialogue with you today alongside Deakin University. Sorry, technical difficulties, there you go. So in today's session, we'll really be covering what's online learning all about. And when people talk to you about online learning, let's break down what that means. Let's understand and break some of those myths and understand what the components are of online learning. And then really get you to critically think about, is online learning for me? Will it suit my style? Can I make the best of it? And have I really understood it to its full capacity in terms of what it can provide me? Then Ravneet will be giving a perspective from Deakin, and Deakin are really well versed in the online global ed space. They're really well renowned and have been leaders in the area. And then, as I mentioned, Oz will be taking us through the student perspective and giving you a demo of what it's like to be a student, which he currently is, studying on an online program. So we'd like to start with our first poll. And what we really want to know is more about you. So who are you? Are you currently considering someone who's considering global ed? Are you an applicant or an offer holder, or perhaps the parent of a student or potential student? Or are you someone that's currently undertaking their global ed and you're a current international student? We really want to know about you so that it allows all of us to really tailor the conversation that we're having to make sure we're answering some of your questions. So thank you. I see about 50% of you have already responded. That's fantastic. We'll just give you another minute or so to give us your feedback. It looks like we have quite a few offer holders and a lot of people considering global ed here. So that's fantastic. Just another 30 seconds or so. Thank you. That looks about 70% of you. Let's get as much feedback as possible so we can make sure we're tailoring the conversation for you. So don't forget, you can ask those questions throughout and our panel of experts will be answering them, but we have that Q&A session at the end. So it looks like quite a considerate amount of you have responded. Thank you so much. I think we'll go ahead and close that poll now. And so we've got, it's great to see we've got a significant number of offer holders with us, but also a great number of you are actually just considering global ed, which is fantastic. It's great that you're really trying to stay informed. You're really trying to make sure that you know what's happening in the space of global ed, and you're really considering your options. And similarly, we've got a large number of applicants, which is fantastic. So any questions you have, we'll be covering, but a lot of this conversation will be really relevant to you. Also, I see we've got a few international students and a couple of parents. That's great. Make sure you ask all the questions you want, but make sure you also take a lot of information out of the conversation we're having today. So let's get down to the crux of it, which is the impact COVID-19, which is the coronavirus stream, is having on global ed. Now, we're seeing that it's impacting us all over the world, but we're going to take a snapshot really looking at global ed and the impact it's having on education. Let's start with mobility. Now, I'm sure many of us are currently in lockdown or have been in lockdown for some time now, and we know that mobility has been an issue. So not only are international borders closed in many countries, but also internal borders are closed, which means the restriction of movement of people is on high alert. Obviously, social distancing is being practiced, and that means a lot of campuses, university campuses, are closed for face-to-face learning for safety, which is their main priority. Which has resulted in universities really having to adapt their pedagogy, their mode of teaching you. And they've really taken to this online method. Now, don't get confused. A lot of universities were already going down this route. Do not see this as a subset or a sub-service to what you would have been getting. A lot of universities are well versed in this, some obviously slightly better than others, but most universities have already had some kind of online element within their programs. So what they've all done is move to this online learning system to really make sure that they're not inhibited by the lack of physical interaction when teaching students both current and future. And what it really demonstrates is that this is the way the world will be going. Don't expect that this new normal of online learning and this more accessible world is going to go anywhere. It's actually the way the future is going. I think perhaps the pandemic has just highlighted it and make the organic growth a bit faster. So this is a really great quote by Donna J. Abernathy. She's a former editor for Developer and Learning magazine, and she said, online learning is not the next big thing, it is the now big thing. And that's really in line with what I've just said. We need to break that misconception that online learning is coming. Yes, it's coming, but it's already here as well. And you'll see that a lot of universities have really focused on the quality and ensured that the online learning platform is really facilitating the rigor and the expectations that you'd get from a higher education degree. Make sure that you understand that when you're studying online, you are studying a degree that has been quality assured by regulators, right? So when someone's saying to you that an online qualification isn't the same quality or the rigor that you'd have from face-to-face, that's not true. The regulators that regulate all universities will have checked the program and made sure it meets that criteria. Not just that, the universities really want to make sure that their reputations are being upheld in what they're providing you, and the experience is a great one. And they've really done that by making the programs really interactive, really collaborative, really encouraging things like networking, group projects, collaboration, different methods of really accessing the information. So beyond that standard of the really old school face-to-face, and I'm talking about really old school where it doesn't even exist now, face-to-face where it's just a lecture method. Even the face-to-face has evolved to be more than that, and so has online learning. So it could be a series of videos, it could be live talks, it could be pre-recorded, it could be projects, group, solo, etc. Universities have really considered that to make sure that the experience of online learning is interactive, it's collaborative, it encourages you to be able to network with your peer group and with academics. And it also really allows wider access. So you'll be connecting with perhaps students that you might not have been able to before, because the online learning system allows for boundaries to be just dismissed completely. It doesn't base itself on locality, but it's based on the opportunity for access of more information of a wider breadth of people. And flexibility. So like I said, there's so many different ways in which they'll be teaching you and you'll be learning, but it means that you have real control over how and when you're learning. So when you're choosing to look at those recorded lessons, when you're choosing to engage with others, this is all within your control, and it allows you to mold your life to make sure that online learning is optimizing your experience. And then lastly, it's the present and the future. So it's really making sure that you're set up for what's to come. It's not that online learning is just for now and you won't be able to transfer anything. Actually, first of all, consider the fact that a lot of what you'll be learning online will mean that you can transfer this to other universities. Secondly, everybody is in the same boat. Universities are really being quite understanding, and they understand the rigor and the quality of an online qualification. You're also setting yourself up for the future of work, the future of the way the world will work, but we'll cover that in a moment. Now to break the next myth, which is that you'll be studying a purely online program. Now, I think there's been a lot of fear mongering around what we're talking about when we're saying that your program will start online. That doesn't mean your entire degree will be online. Let's remember that the face-to-face component will still take place. This is what we mean when we're saying online start. We're talking about blended learning. Blended learning is when you have a combination of online learning and face-to-face. And that's what you'll be getting during your experience here. So the universities want to make the most of the situation without inhibiting your learning and the quality of your experience. So they're starting with the programs being online, and then you'll move to face-to-face as soon as that's available. So you'll still have that ability to physically interact with everybody, be in an international setting, but you're also not slowing down your growth and your mindset. So when we're talking about the online starts, remember this concept of blended learning. It's not just online, it is blended. It's just a temporary measure. This won't last forever. And another question that keeps coming up is, what impact will it have on my post-study work access or my stay-back options if I was to start studying online? The reality is universities and governments are being extremely flexible. No one's chosen to be in this situation, and everyone's reacting the best they can. They know that this is outside of the realm of control of many people. So post-study work visa, just to make it very clear, will not be impacted. Most universities and governments have been quite clear that there will be they will still be accessible. There will be a limitation around the amount that you can do online, and that will vary from country to country. So you should find that out. Connect with your relationship manager, who's your RM. If you don't already have one, on board with us, which is registering, and you'll be able to access a relationship manager who'll be able to tell you about your individual university. What that means is that if you look at a country such as Canada, you can do up to 50% of your program online. And that's not to say that they're planning for at least 50% to be online, but you can do up to 50% of your program online without any impact on your stay back option. There's similar restrictions being introduced in Australia and the UK. They're just refining those kind of restrictions. Same with the US, etc. But what you should do is keep in mind that universities will be considering that when starting their online programs. So they'll be making sure that what's online, and they've all made set timelines around when face-to-face will be starting again based on their conversations with their governments. What you're studying online will not inhibit your ability to access that post-study work visa or that stay-back option. So would online learning suit me? That's a real question here. We're all living in an age where we love technology. We're well versed in it. I'm sure many of you have been on social media today. You've Googled something, you're watching Netflix, you're watching this on a digital device right now. I mean, the fact that we're connecting virtually shows how much technology is now part of our day-to-day DNA. And it means that you're more able to adapt. So if we're taking, for example, universities, and I mentioned this before, they were already looking towards these online learning methods. So the Times of Higher Education found that by 2030, around 65% of universities will have fully online degrees. Now, this probably won't be all of their degrees, but there will be some available. And that's because they understand that accessibility is going to be a key thing going forward. Not just that, it really allows for a personal experience. Not only are you able to really have control and you're really able to make sure that you're making the most of your time and being productive, you're also able to ask questions that you might not have been able to ask in a face-to-face setting because of a lack of access or time issues. So what you'll be able to do, I'm so sorry about that. So what you'll be able to do is really make sure that you're having control, you're asking questions, and you're really on top of your learning experience. And like I said, you don't want to delay your future. So if you do not start your online program, what it could mean is that you need to defer to the next intake. And the next intake could be a year later. Universities have considered that. They don't want to delay you. And if by starting online, they allow you to be able to access your program earlier and on time and really get that rigor and that experience that you wanted from Global Ed. And lastly, but not least, it was really quite cost effective. Now there's a couple of features there. Firstly, you'll be saving on accommodation and travel. Secondly, right now, a lot of universities and governments are being extremely flexible around their allowances with financing. So they're doing a lot of financial support in the terms of scholarships and grants and bursaries. And then thirdly, you'll be able to get a refund for a program if you decide that it's not right for you, or you'll be able to defer. And that depends on university to university. So again, check with your relationship manager because not all of them are allowing this option, but there are a number that are. And that means that you're not wasting money, but you're also not wasting your time. You're checking out the online program. If it's not for you, then you can choose to move on to something else. So some useful tips that you should be taking on board and considering when you're starting your online study. Create a structure and a plan. Really have a timetable in place. Know what you want to do. Know what you want to achieve in terms of goals, daily, monthly, weekly. Have a set place of study, of work. Have a set time scale. All of these things. The more structure you have, the more you'll be able to really make the most of your experience. But also set limits. Set limits on how long you're spending watching TV whilst pretending to be at the laptop, how long you're actually on social media or chatting with your friends on WhatsApp or looking at TikToks. Set those kind of limits, but also set limits around how long you're sitting there and trying to work, because after a certain period of time, your brain won't be able to absorb that information anymore. And that's why we're talking about that flexibility and control. The more flexibility and control you have, the more you can really harness that experience to absorb as much information as possible. And lastly, connect and ask. Connect and ask everybody. Ask your academic tutors and your lecturers, etc., the support staff in terms of your writing and academic abilities. Ask them questions, connect with them, keep checking with them that you're on the right track, or if you have any questions or misunderstandings or you want to clarify something. But also connect with your peer group. This is a great opportunity to really harness your skills at making a virtual group of friends that eventually you will meet face to face. Make sure that you're having those group working conversations and you have a study group, but also you take time to connect with them to really socialize, because that's partly what you want. The friends you make at university are your friends for life. And this is the last section before I hand over to Ravneet. So are you ready? That's what you really need to ask yourself as well. Are you ready for the future? Are you ready for the future workplace? Because this is becoming the new normal. You should expect that we'll be seeing an increasing amount of people having to work or choosing to work remotely. If we take the circumstances we're in right now, an inordinate amount of businesses have been able to work remotely, including ours. Our entire learning infrastructure has gone online. Our relationship managers and our ability to connect with you has gone online, and it's not hindered your experience. We've really focused on the quality of it. And actually, a study has found that within a period of 12 years, the amount of remote working went up by 159% within a 12-year period. And that's only likely to increase where a circumstance like we're finding ourselves in has really made it quite apparent that we can adapt to that. And that's what I'm talking. You need to be able to adapt to be able to thrive in the new world. And that is one of the skills that the United Nations, Forbes, and Harvard have all been speaking about: the ability to adapt to technology, the ability to be agile, the ability to have emotional intelligence, and to really harness that whilst being in a digital platform is an incredible skill to have. The United Nations named that this will be one of the top missing skills within the next 10 years. And Forbes has really indicated that being able to have a growth mindset whilst being self-driven is a key thing to be able to adapt and thrive in the coming working world. And as we believe at TC Global, but what is also being demonstrated by the current virus that we're experiencing, the world is becoming increasingly borderless, and it will be borderless. And you need to understand that you need to be borderless too. Using technology means that you can break those physical boundaries, and you can really enhance the ability that you have to connect with others, to embrace information and make the most of your situation. So now I'll hand over to Ravneet, and she'll give you a perspective from University of Deakin.
Thanks, Jess. Hi, everyone. I'm Ravneet Pava. I'm the Deputy Vice President Global and CEO South Asia for Deakin University. And I'm going to be talking to you a little bit from a Deakin perspective as to what does it mean to study in the cloud, as we call it. Deakin University is a university that has been looking at online education for a very long time. But look what COVID-19 has done to disrupt the education. COVID-19 crisis has changed the way the world thinks, and definitely has changed the way international education is going to be in the future. Today, over 1 billion students worldwide are unable to go to school or university due to the measures to stop the spread of coronavirus, and the same in Australia and at Deakin. 80% of world's learners are now being kept out of education institutions in physical terms and are studying in the cloud. Technology has stepped up into the breach, and we will continue to play a key role in educating the future generations through the use of EdTech. Disruption is the new normal, my dear friends, and this is what we are going to be talking today about. Deakin University is a government-funded university in Australia and has had 40 years of experience in the online learning mode, or the cloud learning mode as we call it. It has developed innovative tools that support teaching and learning on a digital platform. All our campuses and all our courses are also available online. And currently, we have more than 78,000 high achieving online graduates. So that gives you actually a sense of this is not new for us. Of course, the way we do it may have changed, but we have been a very strong online and a cloud campus player for years. Deakin Online is premium. It's not content put on the web and you're studying that. It is a premium product. It is proven over the 40-year period, and our students love it. And you will hear from one of our students in a due course of time as to how and what his journey at Deakin has been in the cloud. We are #1 in Australia and #8 in world for performance in the online digital mode. We are in the top 1% of world universities in any world ranking, and #1 for career service and also for student satisfaction. Now, when you are a student, what are the two things that are more important to you? One, of course, the education, the knowledge, the teaching, learning experience. And two, what happens to me after I finish? And will I get a job? And how is the university going to help us? So that gives you an idea about how Deakin has been taking this very seriously. Because one of the key things that we have to do is we have to ensure that we are training the graduates that are going to be operating in the world of tomorrow. They have to be ready for jobs of the future. And as my previous presenter just mentioned, that the new normal is going to be evolving. We have to be adaptive, we have to be evolving, and we have to learn, relearn, and rethink. Those are the things that are important for any student going into the future. So why online education, or why education in the cloud? One, because it's flexible. Two, because it's easy to access. Three, you have all the key services that you would need as a student. And four, you could be looking at completely your time, and you could be continuing to work with your tutors, with your lecturers, and with your peer group. Also, there is personal support available in our system where a student can have a personal mentor for the period of study that the student is at Deakin. What are the courses that we do online? Here is the complete, it's not an exhaustive list, but this is somehow what we give you a sense of, right from business to engineering to health to information technology to cyber, creative arts, architecture, science, sport, media. All of these courses, accounting and finance, are taught in the cloud at Deakin University. So what does this mean for you as a student? You are in a place today where you are locked down in your house, anywhere in the world. You could be even in Australia, you could be in America, you could be in the UK, or you could be in India. You are a student and you are locked down. So what does that mean? That means that you must pick up a skill which is going to take you into the future. Now, what is that skill, dear friends? That skill is to be able to be a good online learner. Because if you are not a good online learner, you will suffer, you will not gain, and you will not understand the new normal of post-COVID-19. What we are talking about today was said it's going to be in the future, but it's not going to be in the future. It is right here. And we have to learn to adapt and evolve with the new normal of online learning or cloud learning. So what does the Deakin bring to you? If you study at Deakin right now, you could enroll in your home country for the 1 or 2 subjects that you may wish to choose. And the commencing date for that is 4th of July. So you enroll now and you start on the 4th of July. As soon as the campus and the borders reopen, which could be, say, September, October, November, December, January, February, we don't know. The prediction is that it will be sooner than later in Australia, because Australia, as we all know, has done extremely well in managing the pandemic. The new cases in Australia are very, very low, and slowly, the governments are reopening, businesses reopening, the normal lifestyle. It will take a while, but it is much faster in Australia to cope with the pandemic than in other parts of the world. So we are hopeful that it will be sooner or later that Australia will open borders to international students with quarantine rules and with the rules that are prescribed by the Ministry of Health in Australia. But anyway, if you are a student online of Deakin University, after you enroll in your trimester 2, which is in July, you can then transfer on campus as soon as the borders open. Or the other thing that you can do, if you don't want to continue and you feel that, no, I don't want to do this online thing, I actually want to take a break and I want my refund back, or I want to defer to an online semester, or an on-campus semester. So in that space, we can give you a full refund if you are applying for a refund before census date, which is 15th August. Or if you want to defer, then by 15th August, you can defer to the next semester, which will be an on-campus semester as soon as the borders open. The other thing of starting now is that you are eligible for a scholarship of 20 or 25%, depending on your merit. High quality online study environment and materials is available to you, and it is interactive. You will hear from one of our students as to how easy and how interesting they find the Deakin Cloud learning experience. You can start your studies right now in the comfort of your home and learn the skill that you need to cope in the future in another world, in another post-COVID era. Considering that the COVID-19 situation is here to stay, we must understand how we need to upskill. We must understand how we need to be able to rethink and relearn. Online studies helps us to adapt to an ever-changing digital economy, which is the new normal. So students who are eligible, who can complete 2 years of full-time study on campus, will still qualify for the PSW if you start with one unit while you're in your home country. This is just a connect for you. You can take this down, or we will even send it to you later, where you can even get a taster of what online study is from our perspective and how you are able to deal with it, as a trying, as an entree into the future. I'm not going to take too much of your time because I think Jess has talked to you about the importance of online education. I've talked to you about Deakin University in specific as to what we are offering right now. And the main thing to remember here is that what is important is that students are able to connect with their peer and with their professor asynchronous and synchronous, which means in real time and in non-real time. So you are working flexibly. You have nothing to lose if you don't like it. You can move to on-campus straight away after you finish your time here and the campus opens up. And you only have to understand that this is a skill you must have, whether you have it here or you build it up when you go to another country. But this is an absolute important skill for you to possess while you are going to be studying in this new era. So I'm going to now, I've got some contacts here, you can take this down, but I'm going to now pass it on to Urs, who's actually going to talk to you about his experience as a student of Deakin University.
Hi, everyone. This is Ars. I'm an on-campus student at Deakin University, Melbourne. So here's the thing. The world's infected by a virus right now, and things have been pretty uncertain. And even Deakin University, how things were handled over here, what I can tell you, I'm not even trying to sell it. Everything went on pretty smoothly. Deakin always had their online infrastructure set up, which means even before the whole virus situation started, everything that was related to your studies was done online, which means submitting assignments or even talking to your professors or asking for extensions, for example. Everything was done online. And so far, nothing for me personally has changed. The only thing is we don't get to go to offline workshops, going to college or anything, but everything has been accommodated for ever since the whole situation started, and there were no hiccups or anything of that sort. So my plan right now with all of you guys is just to show you what it's like being a student at Deakin, especially online. Considering I'm a campus student, I turned into an online student now. So I'm just going to walk you through all the tools and the services that Deakin provides to cope with everything that's going on right now. What you see on my screen right now is Deakin's personal site called the Deakin Sync, where it's kind of like a control panel to your online studies. It contains everything. This is essentially your profile to Deakin. Probably going to be your best friend if you're going to ever be a student over here. So what you can see is it has access to all the different things like your Deakin mail, even the calendar if you have any kind of like assignments due, or specific meetings with your unit chair, or even your dean, for example, is going to show up at the calendar. You can even find professors and everyone through the people tab. And there, as you can see, there's so much more over here. You can also access the entire offline library, which is, so Deakin has a really huge library on campus, and a lot of students just flock over there most of the time. But the best part is, if, say, for example, you're not able to find any kind of like information online, you could just go through the library on this tab and find all the relevant information, specific scholar guides, or even books and stuff. As you can see, there's also help and support. So what happened over here was, because of the virus, a lot of students got affected. So Deakin has this help and support center where you can just leave a message, or if you need any kind of personal help, even if, say, in this case, because of the virus, they even helped out people with their rent, because I believe Deakin allocated about $25 million or something to just help international, or even like students, any kind of student who got affected by this whole thing. So to keep it simple, every single unit that you're enrolled into has its own unit site. I'm doing Bachelor of IT, so as you can see, I'm enrolled into these three for the current semester. A semester is 3 months, 3 to 4 months. There's SIT 105, 122, 124. These are 3 different units. These are the units I'm currently enrolled into, hence they show up in the current unit section. If you click on all units, you can see that I've completed all of these units, which are turned green. You can also look at your current progress at Deakin, which is represented by this bar. I'm guessing by the end of the bar, there's going to be some kind of confetti on this page, and I'm going to graduate. So let's move on to show you, say, for example, if I want to study for my next assignment for this specific unit, which is SIT 105, Thinking, Technology, and Design. You'll be presented with the unit site. The unit site for every single unit is the same. So there's no learning curve or anything per se. As you can see, there's this news section. The news section is kind of like a blog for teachers or tutors to get to all of their students, or let them know of certain information. And say what happens is, if a lot of students are sending them messages asking for some kind of help, and they see that it's a common problem or a common question that everyone's asking, the tutor or the teacher, they just release a blog post over here to let everyone know, okay, hey, this is how you do it, and etc., etc. So as you can see, there's information related to one of my quizzes, which was posted 10 days ago. It answers all the questions that people asked, and that's how people move forward. So say I want to go back to like learning or finishing my course structure, and I want to look at my course structure, all the resources and stuff. So you go to the resources tab, which is this. This is going to be your best friend for every single unit or unit site. This is where all the course structure is, any relevant information, links, scholar documents, whatever. This is what the tutor uses to kind of put in all of the resources that you need to finish that specific unit. So if you go to weekly resources, everything is shown week by week structure, because that's how it is over here. Every single week you have a specific task that you got to complete, and that's how things work. So as you can see, it also shows you if you have any pending items. It shows like a tick mark if you finish all the course structure. This just shows how good of a student I am, but I'm just kidding. If you look at week 1, I have actually finished everything and whatever I needed to do. So week by week, everything's there. All of the course structure is given out as the actual PowerPoint presentations or the PDFs used in the lecture itself. So say, for example, if I were to open this, which was my very first class, the entire PDF which was used in the lecture itself is available. So you can go through that. There's no issue at all. Now, say, for example, if you want to join an online class. So what's happening right now is all of our workshops have shifted to online classes, of course, because campus is closed. So in order to access those online classes, we use Microsoft Teams. It's pretty straightforward. It's kind of like a Zoom call between all of the students and also, all of the students and also the unit chair and the professors, etc., etc. So if I were to go to Microsoft Teams from this link, it opens up this. Every single one of my units has its own team site inside a specific unit in Microsoft Teams. You can see that there's a workshop assigned to you. So in my case, this is the workshop hosted every single Friday, 11 a.m. And I'm a part of this because everyone gets assigned their own slot and everything. And you can see that there's so many people assigned the same slot. Every time there's an online class, which is happening at 11 a.m. on a Friday, there's a meeting of sorts, as you can see over here. And it's kind of like a Zoom call. I would show you if I could right now, but there's no classes happening at 11 p.m. So in this case, what happened was there were a class on the 24th, there was a class on May 1st also. And when you access that class, you get to talk to all of your tutors or whoever's teaching. And if you have any kind of specific question, it just pops up on their screen and they answer your question. It's like a lot of communication back and forth. So there's nothing like, if you have any kind of question, it usually gets answered right quickly. So even if, say, for example, the tutor missed your question, there's going to be somebody else who's going to answer that for you. You can talk to all of your classmates or like teammates if groups were assigned to you. Everything is done through this chat section. Now, say I wasn't able to attend one of my workshops, or even this happens in case of like offline classes too. Say, for example, this was an online learning. I was actually going to campus, but I had a job on the side. I wasn't able to attend a workshop. So what happens is every single class, be it online or offline, is recorded. So if I were to go to class recordings, which is back on the resources section of the unit site, you can see that from weeks 1 to 3, which was when campus was working and you could go and you won't be affected by the virus. That's when everything was open. They're kind of put in this separate link. Classes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which are week 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, were recorded, which means all online classes are recorded, all offline classes are recorded too. So if the world wasn't affected by a virus, the classes would still be recorded. What I can tell you so far is Deakin, the way they handled stuff with the whole virus situation was handled pretty well, in the sense that they didn't really have to do much because the online infrastructure was set already, which means your assignments, all of the course structure, everything was available online. In my case, say if I have an assignment due, right? You can see next to resources, there's also assessment. I can look at assignments, any kind of grades that I received. You can even look at quizzes. So let's just go to assignment. It shows you have an assignment. This is the due date. You can submit your assignment. So this was one of my assignments that I submitted a while back. I actually got the result today. I can look at feedback. I can look at the grade itself. So if I were to look at the feedback, you can see that the tutors mark it really nicely. They tell you that this is the reason why you got this grade. This is what you needed to do, etc., etc. So, and this was the same before too. So like I said, nothing really changed. Moving on, what I can potentially show you another thing. Say, for example, you have some kind of question and you haven't been able to get the answer through the chat section or even in an online workshop, something that you missed out of, it didn't cross your mind. What you can do is there's a discussion section. Every single unit site has its own discussion section, which means It's kind of like a mini forum inside your unit site where there are different sections. You can post questions for your unit chair, which is your professor. There's on-campus student discussion, which means like, this doesn't really mean on campus right now, but there's student discussion, which means if you want to discuss activities or certain tasks with students, you can just open this. So let me just open questions for the unit chair, for example. So I am pretty sure this person meant quiz, but what is the quiz password? I can't open it. Somebody, not even the unit chair, somebody replied right then and there saying this is the password, and that's it. So any kind of questions you have, you are usually answered really quickly, either by the unit chair or the students themselves, because what I notice, given the whole situation, the virus, the pandemic, whatever, people have been more helpful, if anything. Deacon has been a lot more helpful. I know a lot of my friends who had financial hardships, or even they weren't able to complete their assignments on time, so they applied for extensions. Extensions were granted for the right reasons, and things have been pretty well so far, you know. And students have also, now that they're online, they discuss things a lot more than before, because there's just a screen in between. You don't actually have to face these kind of expressions. So things are working out pretty well. If I were to go back to Deacon Sync, let me see what else I can show you. Mail is pretty straightforward. Calendar. Actually, I've actually gone through everything. There's nothing else to it, guys. It's pretty straightforward. If you have too many questions related to the site, if you're having hardships, you can either send an email to the unit chair, you can use this discussion board, you can use this chat section. So there's no gaps in communication at all. If anything, I feel the pandemic got people closer than ever. And even students right now are creating groups on the side using Microsoft Teams. They're having constant calls with each other over here. You can directly give a call to your professor also if they're online, and they'd be willing to answer you. And I've done that personally when I was stuck somewhere, not able to figure out. I'm doing IT. There's a lot of code. I'm not really too good at it right now, but I'm getting a lot better. I sent a message to the unit chair over here on Microsoft Teams. They gave me a call right away, and it was fixed within 5 minutes. So all in all, to summarize, nothing to worry about. For me personally, yes, I'm a tech savvy person. I'm able to figure things out. But all of these people that you see, I'm pretty sure they're not tech savvy, but they have been able to get this far. They are attending all the classes. They're leaving messages. So things are working out. And I'm going through all the discussion boards. People are not frustrated. Things are working because nothing changed. Things were online before. They are online now. And that's about it. Should that be enough?
Yeah, thanks, Sars. I think that was great. I think back to you, Rohini, if you have any key questions, or Jess. I think
Yes,
we should do
actually, thank you so much, Ravneet and Araz. I think that was a really great perspective to have, particularly from both the university provider, but also from someone who's actually experiencing it. And no one's paid him to say any of this. This is entirely his own words and his own perspective. But what that should do is help reassure you about the kind of experience you should be expecting. So let's go on to our next poll. And our next poll is about what you're thinking now. So how do you feel now about studying online, or starting your program online, or having that blended learning option? So we're just opening up the poll for you. Let us know what you think. Do you feel more confident about starting online? Are you ready to start your online experience, and you always were, you just wanted those extra doubts cleared up? Hopefully we've helped in that. You want to wait and watch and maybe explore a little bit more, in which case you should really make sure that you're staying informed, you're staying connected. Make sure you stay connected with your relationship manager in particular, because they are on top of everything. Or are you just saying, I'm going to wait to start my global ed journey a little bit later? So we'll just give you another minute to give us your feedback. It's really interesting to see where you're at, and we can also do more to make sure both TC Global and institutions like Deakin share information with you to make sure that you're kept in the loop, that you're feeling confident about the decision you're making, and that you're making the right choice for you. We had some really great questions, and one person replied to me saying, thank you. It might have been a bit of a middle-class Indian attitude to ask these questions, but actually, please don't ever say that. Don't ever think that you cannot ask questions. The only way to be informed is by asking. And you're asking good questions. You're asking stuff that's about yourself. This is a big investment that you're making. So make sure that you're asking questions. Make sure you're finding out the answers. You do your research. We are doing research for you too. Keep connected with your universities as well. So we'll close it up now. And that's great. I see that there's quite a few of you that are still going to wait and watch a little bit, and that's completely fine. Like I said, just make sure you're keeping informed. But there's a significant number of you that also feel really confident, a bit more confident about online learning, and that's great. What we want to do is try and make sure that you're just as informed as you need to be, as you would be had this situation not happen. Keep connecting with us and keep informed. Okay, so me and Ramli are just going to do a bit of a tie-up of things before we move on to the Q&A. So remember that global ed is beyond the classroom, beyond the virtual classroom and the physical classroom. And what online learning is giving you is the opportunity to have the world at your fingertips. You're able to really connect with more people from a diverse background. You're able to connect virtually. You're able to have those experiences. And everybody, I'm sure right now, has been doing a lot of video calling, a lot of WhatsApp or texting and things like that. And this is just really harnessing those things to make sure that you're having the best experience out of your learning. You're also able to make sure that it's personalized. You have control over the time. You have control over who you're connecting with, how much you're connecting. You really have the ability to take control of your learning. And you also have some familiar faces when you get there. And this is a point you should remember. There are a couple of people that were asking questions around, well, I really won't have time to settle in. Actually, your settling in period when you get there might be easier because you went from not knowing anybody in this foreign country to now knowing a bunch of people that you've studied with, you've connected with, you've built friendships with, and having them be there at the same time as you, going through the same experience, and you'll be helping each other. You're also really focusing on developing those skills around EQ, those skills that will be needed for the future of being able to be able to work in a tech-driven society, being able to be thinking with a growth mindset and being self-driven. And you'll be future ready for that world of work and that increasing norm that we're going to see of the digital world penetrating into our physical world more and more and it becoming one. I'll just leave Ravneet to make some final thoughts as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to say that, you know, I just feel that one of the most important things for students today, I can talk as a parent because I've got a 22-year-old myself who's currently in Australia and about to start his master's degree, you know, studied on some bit of online as well. The main thing to remember is that it is a skill that you have to have. And if you don't have the skill today, you will not be able to deal with the uncertainty and the changing times of the future. And while you're in your home, it's good to do that because you have a comfortable environment. It is something new. You want to try and test it, and you want to go with it as you go. And if you don't like it, you may want to change your mind later. But otherwise, if you don't have your results now, what are you going to do? So this sort of a option has been created only with the view to make sure that we are reaching across to our target audience. We are telling you what is the new normal and explaining to you the do's and don'ts of how you move into a future which looks different. So I think from a student, from a parent perspective and from an educator perspective, I would be really encouraging you to think about this as a new normal and as a skill that is important.
I think that is beautifully said, Ravneet, actually. I don't think you could summarize it any better. Also, how you have a 22-year-old, I have no idea. So now we move on to the Q&A section. Rahini, I'll hand this over to you. And the panelists, do you want to put your cameras on and mics?
Thank you, Jas. Thank you, Ravneet. Thanks, Ars. We've got a lot of questions for you guys today. In fact, Kalpana, I'm going to actually start with one for you. With everything going online, will there be a change in the fee structure across all countries? And will we be still getting the scholarships that have been showcased on the university websites?
Hi, I'm Kalpana from the International Relations team. So to answer that question, there are no fee discounts as such by the universities, but every university has come up with bursaries and scholarships. So any student who does have the right kind of grades should apply for those scholarships. And we are encouraging all our students to apply and get those scholarships, if that answers the question.
Thank you, Kalpana. Ravneet, this one's for you. If I choose to do the online learning, what would be the timing of the classes? Would it be according to the country's timing or the country that I'm applying from?
Look, we have students studying globally with us. So it's very difficult to give you a specific timing. Depends on, we try and keep to a timing which can be global, but it's really hard. And maybe Ars can answer this better than I can, but I think that at the end of the day, you may need to put yourself into some inconvenience. I mean, we as professionals do that. I have meetings at 6 a.m. and I have meetings at 9 p.m. because I'm working in different time zones. So I guess you have to get used to that. Get out of your comfort zone is my focus. Don't feel this is where you want to be and things have to come to you. Get out of your comfort zone, do what you need to do, and make sure that you are adaptive. Because today you're working in India, tomorrow you're working in the US. You can't be asking questions about zones here. So we have to be open. And I'd also like to comment on Kalpana's point on the previous question, that the reason why a lot of universities may not be changing their fee structure is because this is not inferior to on-campus. And Ars has proven this to you through his demonstration, that it is same. It's only that you're physically not on campus. And because this is an interim period, we may not be looking at changing it just for the 1 or 2 units. But like Kalpana said, you've got scholarships and bursaries, so make use of that. Ars, do you want to talk about the?
Would you like to add to that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I can say something about this. So the good part is, like I was talking about workshops, so you saw that my workshop was every Friday, 11 a.m., right? You get to pick what workshops you want to attend. So if I didn't attend the 11 a.m., I can still attend the next one, for example. And usually what happens is classes start at about 9 a.m. They go on till 4 p.m. or something. So if you missed one of the classes, you can go on the next one. If you missed that, you can go back to the lecture recordings and go through all of that. If you have questions related to something, you can ask a message in the chat or send a message to the unit chair. So everything's kind of like a circle. There's no way to get out of it. You won't have any kind of problems.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you a follow-up question, and Ravneet, please, your comments would be valuable too. Would you say that the online is the same rigor as a face-to-face class if you're attending in a lecture hall, or would you say this is slightly easier given the flexibility that you have for doing these assignments and workshops?
Okay, and if I were to answer this, it depends on you. Do you want something coming out of a screen, like the same face coming out of a screen, or do you want to do it face to face? Because it's not like you're going to touch that person or anything. Everything remains the same in my particular case. So all of my classes are happening online. I can see the same person who was teaching me offline through a screen. I can ask them the same kind of questions. In fact, you know how you just show your laptop to your unit chair or your tutor and be like, hey, I'm facing this problem. I just share my screen. So I didn't find any kind of like a discrepancy between online and offline learning because, like I said, not much changed. All of the assignments and everything that you were supposed to do offline, they were also submitted online. So say I was given a particular task that I'm supposed to do. I'm going to get a notification online about it, even if I was an offline student. And if I were to complete an assignment, I would submit that assignment online. It's not like you actually print out a paper and give it to the unit chair or your tutor or whatever. You just submit it and that's it.
Yeah. But I also say that the rigor is the same because the assessment is the same. And remember, a lot of the domestic students already are studying online. They sometimes choose not to attend classes if they're working. So if you are working, you anyway would be preferring to do some bit of it online. So the rigor is not less or more. It may be a little bit difficult if you're not used to it. So you've got to get used to the system. And I do know that Indian students who are not so tech savvy do find it a little bit difficult because it's a completely different style. But which is my point, that get used to the new international style of education, which is a lot blended, which is a lot in the cloud, which is a lot independent. So that's what you need to be thinking about.
Can I just
Thank you,
add
Art.
one, Mohini?
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
They cannot, a university cannot award you a degree if it was not of the same quality. Just remember that. You cannot get the degree if it wasn't as good a quality as you would be getting face to face. So the question of quality is just an exception here. It doesn't apply because you're still having the same learning experience, the same information sharing.
Thank you, Jazz. Bindu ma'am, I have a question for you. There are a lot of students that are asking about the stay back and PSW options across, not just for Australia, but for Canada as well. Would you like to share some thoughts on that?
Bindu, you're on mute.
Oh, Jesus.
No, she's not anymore.
No,
We got you.
By the way, this is the story of my life. I can never remember. What I have to say is that the PSW across the board is not being affected by a little bit of online learning. What countries are doing is that they're giving you the criteria, the parameters under which you work. For example, Canada says that you need 50% of your course should be onshore. So you can do up to 50% of it in India and you will still get the same stay back options. The UK says that you can start off online and the time starts from the time that you actually reach campus. Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, none of them, all stay back, and Germany, all of them, stay back options are in place. Stop being worried about them. I got a lots, of queries on this. So let's put it in perspective. All stay back options are perfectly in place, not being affected. And if there's anything specific that you want, just connect with us. And, we can give you specific updates as and when they come in.
Thank you, Bindu. Saqib, if you can help answer this one. How are the online classes for test prep or English language different from the classes that ours has shown us today?
Fine. Hi, my name is Saqib. We have been discussing so far about the online classes being the new normal, right? Yes, we also conduct all our test prep and English language program courses, be it GMAT, GRE, SAT, IELTS, TOEFL, or PT. We are conducting them online as well. And believe us, all our students are really happy about our services. And most importantly, they're happy with the fact that they are utilizing their valuable time being home. I mean, they're not wasting actually. To answer your question, they are getting same sort of content delivery as compared to the physical face-to-face classes. Sessions we have planned sessions like such in such a way that they are interactive, wherein students can get their doubts solved. Post enrollment, students will also get an access of a Moodle platform. We call them as LMS, the Learning Management System. By accessing that Moodle platform, they also get the access of mock test and sectional test. All our sessions, all our online sessions will be recorded, and all those recordings would be uploaded on the LMS itself, wherein students can refer to those recorded sessions later on, as Arj was mentioning it. They can refer to for the revision or for the sessions they may have missed out. They make a good use of discussion forums also, where they can interact with the peer groups and all.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Saqib. Ravneet, this question is actually for you, Kalpana and Bindu ma'am. Is what do you think that the governments of the respective countries, when do you think they're actually going to start opening the borders? We've got a lot of offer holders that are worried whether they should defer their classes based on, when they're actually going to be able to travel. So any input on that would be great. Ravneet, if we can start with you.
Look, it's really hard to say when. I mean, look, like in India, we can't say when the lockdown will be over. We are slowly progressing into finding this balance between economic and health, and trying to open a bit and then make sure that we keep it safe. I think the same case is going to be around the world. But what I can say to you with very great conviction, that Australia is in a much better position to handle the pandemic than any other country in the world. And I think Ars can chip in here and tell me whether on the ground where you are in Melbourne, Ars, how do you feel? Because I know that the Education Minister of Australia has said that we will make sure that slowly and slowly we get things back to normal. And the first thing will be to get the students who are in Australia into on-campus mode by July. Now, if that happens, then a few months from there, I think they will start to open the borders a little bit. So I'm quite hopeful that it's probably going to be sooner than later. And yes, you could defer your options, or you could do it later. You could, try and pick up online right now and transfer into on campus, or you could wait for completely the borders opening up and do it on campus. So you've got two options. But I do think it will be sooner than later. I think for US and UK, I might pass it on to Bindu and Kalpana to answer.
Kalpana,
okay, let me take. Okay, let's go.
Oh, sorry. I have to unmute you. Yes. Okay, Bindu, do you want to start? Because Kalpana's having a bit of trouble unmuting herself.
Well, Ravneet has actually put it very nicely. Australia and New Zealand are the two countries that have been the most resilient, the first off the block. Yes, Ravneet, absolutely. And as for the question, if any one of us three could answer that kind of a question, we'd be very, very rich women. Who knows? But hopefully, keeping our fingers crossed, borders should start opening maybe June, July. I don't think it's going to be before that. So let's see what happens. That's a tough call to take. But yes, the best way to start is do your online, do a couple of modules, and October, November, we're keeping, as I said, we're keeping our fingers crossed. A lot of questions on the UK. So hopefully the UK maybe will start, delayed start, but maybe start on time. I mean, campus.
So to add to both of them, what I would say, there are countries where borders are open. So US, for example, the borders are open. But can we travel? That's the bigger question we need to ask ourselves. With the lockdown in India, we need to see when our borders will open and when we will, resume travel. So guys, the best thing at this stage is to take up these online modules, take up a few courses, get acquainted with the new way of life, the new normal. And then when borders open, definitely you're welcome to those countries. They're waiting for you guys to arrive.
Thank you so much, guys. Bindu ma'am, just there are a lot of questions around Duolingo and IELTS and condition offers across the board. If you can share some views and pointers for them on how to go about their English language training, that would be very useful to our audience.
A lot of you have written in on that I can't do my IELTS, so that's why I cannot apply. Please stop that immediately. You can still apply. There are many, many alternatives now that are acceptable to universities. There is Duolingo, which is the online one which you can do at home. There's IELTS Indicator, which again you can do at home. There's TOEFL, the IBT one, which you can sit at home and do. All of them, the Pearson guys have their VEPT. There's many, many ones that can be done, are acceptable to universities, but I must add a rider here. This is a temporary thing. not everybody might take Duolingo after a couple of months. Maybe in another 6 months, when things hopefully are limping back to normal, Duolingo may not be the right thing to do. But right now, it is acceptable. If you have done IELTS before, it is expired or expiring, please bring it to our attention. Universities are being more flexible on these. They are taking your 12th standard, English marks into account. So don't let English language stop you from making an application or accepting an offer. If your offer is conditional on English language, just bring it to us and let us talk to the university and see how to make that unconditional. So just be careful, guys. Duolingo, the only one I have to be a little careful with is Canada. While it is accepted across the board, the government has not yet decided whether they're going to accept it or not. So if you're filing a general visa, absolutely no problem. But if you're going to a college where there is an SDS visa, just be a little careful. That is not acceptable yet. We still have time on it. I'm going to add that yet. But yes, let English language not be a barrier to either make an application or pay an acceptance deposit.
Can I just
Thank you,
add to,
Bindu.
sorry,
Sorry,
Ray.
Please, Jas.
Can I just say also at Deakin, we have our own English language test that we administer, and it's called Duly, and students can take up that test and then get the admission straight into the university. Then you don't need any of the other testings, and that can be administered at your place online.
That's great.
That's a really good point. There's a lot of pre-session or English classes going on across universities. Bindu's made a really good point. These tests are being accepted by universities. The visa might be your restriction there. So just connect with us and find that information. But in general, universities are being lenient across the application requirements. They know that you haven't had your exams. They know that you can't get your test results now. They understand that. They're being somewhat flexible. So connect with us. We'll help you make sure that your application is on track. You can accept your offer and you can get your global ed journey started.
Jas, thank you for that. And the next one is for you. Across the board, the questions that are flying around is what about the job opportunities, especially in the UK? So if we've had this discussion, you and I, before. So if you can share your views with the audience as well, that would be great.
Sure. So I think there's a fear that there's no jobs right now, therefore there'll be no jobs when I finish. Have you started your program? If you haven't even started, this is not a question you should be asking yourself. Yes, there will be some challenges. There will be some challenges in the job market, but that is not going to affect you right now. By the time you graduate your program, the market will be coming back up. And the UK is a particularly resilient one. In fact, you should find extra opportunities, particularly in required skills. With the Brexit situation that we found ourselves in the UK, we're finding more and more jobs will become available. So what you need to do is be prepared early, start applying early, utilize the career services that your university has. They're well versed in what they're doing. Make sure you're keeping in touch and making connections. Do any internships you can find. It's the same thing. You'll have the same challenge you would have had 5 months ago that you'll have when you finish your program now. There will be jobs available. You just need to be proactive about it.
Thank you.
Can I add
Please.
something here? I think the more important thing is not about will there be jobs. I think the more important question will be what kind of jobs will be there, and am I doing what I need to do now to be able to be ready for jobs of the future? I think that's the question you have to ask yourselves. The degrees that you're going to be studying, are they equipping you with the knowledge and the skills to be able to deal with the jobs of the future? And that is an important question. Of course, jobs will be there. They'll be different. If 47 million jobs are going to change in the next 2 years, of course there will be jobs. But what will the jobs be is the question. And they are going to be a lot more digitally oriented. They're going to be a lot more different, a lot more use of things like big data, artificial intelligence, digital marketing. All of these things are going to be the new norm. And you must be skilling yourself now to deal with this in 2 years from now.
Thank you. Ours, there've been a lot of comments and saying thank you so much for sharing, your experiences at the moment. One of the big questions is even your assignments. We know you said you're doing your assignments online, but are your exams online as well? I mean, can you share some experience from an exam perspective as well?
So I haven't really attended any of the online exams. Yes, all of my exams have been scheduled to be online. The way they're handling it at the moment is different units have different structures. So,
Sorry, give me a minute.
have a different structure, and in one of my units, what's happening is we're gonna have online quiz. So the way that's gonna happen is that you get like a time period allotted to you. It's gonna be like a 2-hour long online quiz of sorts. Given the situation, yes, it's gonna be open book. But in my case, I'm doing a lot of coding. There's a lot of IT and stuff, so the open book won't really do me much help, So yes, there are online exams happening. Most of them are happening in the form of quizzes, and they are online quizzes, but I'm pretty sure the unit chairs and the tutors and everyone are going to figure out a way to twist our mind, and we'll have to actually use our mind to answer those questions, which is good. That's the point of it. So yeah,
The
that answers.
learning's exciting for you.
Yeah, it is exciting. Yes.
Thank you for sharing your experiences. I think that was the last one. We've covered pretty much all the questions. Jas, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. So we'll just wrap up. Remember to stay connected with us, and we've said this throughout. We can really help you stay on top, understand what's going on with your situation, with your particular university or destination. At TC Global, we really believe in this concept of being a community, and it's part of our core now. So we believe in connecting with you and being borderless and having that community experience. So you can connect with us on Twitter at TC Global, or on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and the handles are TC Global Official. Similarly, these are the digital channels in which you can connect with Deacon. Anything you want to add there, Ravneet?
Now, I just want to say that we have an office here in Delhi, and the staff here can help you if you want to know anything more about Deacon. I've got 2 numbers there, phone numbers there, but there are also Facebook email channels also as well if you do want to connect with us. And just feel free to ask the questions about what you need to know about studying at Deakin, or generally about studying online, and we'll be able to support you, because these are tough times. I can understand as young students you must be thinking, what is my new future going to look like? But just stay calm, stay connected, and remember, upgrade, upskill, learn and relearn. Those are the things you need to remember as students.
Amazing advice from Ravneet. I think she just summarized the whole session perfectly. So just to let you know, we've got a number of services we can help you with. So you can connect with a relationship manager, which is an RM. And if you already have one, then that's great. You can connect with them about possible learning or global ed opportunities or even mobility. But if you don't have one yet, you can simply onboard with us, which is registering at www.tcglobal.com. You get assigned a relationship manager dedicated to you who will help you with your global ed learning and mobility journey. We also have some really great insights on our webpage. So there's an insight section which has a lot of the information that we've spoken about in really great thought leadership, intriguing, expert pieces. So check those out. They've got great ones around a bunch of things on future of learning, future of work, and some really things that you should be considering as a global citizen of the future. We also have a series of events and webinars going on virtually. Our next set of events will be around things like engineering, computing, and business. So check out our events page. We also have links to webinars being conducted by universities and any sessions they might have going on. And in terms of the webinars, this was the 3rd in our COVID-19 webinar series. We have our next one on Thursday, which is led by Chirag Mittal. He's our Head of Strategy and Human Capital Management at TC Global, alongside Professor Chris, who's from SB Jane. And they'll be talking about career possibilities and the realities post-COVID-19. So a lot of you had questions around, will there be job opportunities and things like this? Similar to what Ravneet said, you need to be focusing on the careers that will be coming up. So this session is really focused on that, your mindset, how you're approaching it, what you should be considering, where the careers are going to probably be coming from. All of that will be covered in that session. So join us then. We also have a coffee hour on Sunday, which is where you can have a great Q&A with some alumni and current students similar to us who will be able to answer some of the questions that you have and give you honest opinions about the experience they're having. Our next set of webinars are focused on career planning. Again, this is something you're all really interested in. So check these out. We've got one around redefining your career planning. And if you've got a parent with you, make sure they check that one out. It's how you really focus on how you should be planning your career. Are you looking at the right things? Are you considering the right approach? What are the approaches that you should be taking? And how do you get there? Then beyond success, we're finding Ikigai, and you might have seen this book. Ikigai is the Japanese concept of finding happiness, and that should be something you're focusing on when you're career planning. It's not just about financial. Financial is intrinsically linked to your happiness. And then lastly, the new workplace, which is being held on next month, which is really, again, focusing on what employers are looking for, what you should be considering, and it'll be the second in our series there. So I'd just like to thank you for joining us. Thank you to our great panel and our other presenters. It was a really great insight, I think. Thank you to Rohini for hosting us. And as we say at TC Global, stay safe and speak soon.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravneet.
Thank you, team.